last first date you actually remember? Not the forgettable ones, just the one where you noticed everything. What they ordered, whether they asked you a question back, whether they looked at their phone. You weren't overthinking, you were reading. Because in the first hour of meeting someone, your brain is doing one job: deciding if this is safe, deciding if this is worth showing up again. Now, think about your first day at a job you eventually left. Same brain, same job. Nobody told it to stop just because there was a lanyard involved. That's what we are going to talk about today. Welcome back to Relationship Ironies of the World We Live In. I'm Swati Mukherjee, and this is the show where we take the patterns that quietly run our lives and hold them up to light. Every alternate episode is just me and you, no guest, working through one of these patterns together. Today is one of those episodes. Before we get into today's story, I want to tell you something new. Starting today, this show has a second home inside it. It's called The Architecture of Work. Why did I add it? This podcast already has a segment called The Architecture of Us, where I sit with guests and go into their journey, their story, their relationship with themselves, how they became the person they are today. This segment is about our relationship with us. The Architecture of Work is a sibling to that. Same lens, different room. We're going to talk about our work life and draw the parallels to our personal life, because everything is connected. We carry the same pattern wherever we go. The way you show up in a relationship is the same way you show up in a team. The way you were taught to earn love is often the way you were taught to earn a promotion. Nothing about us splits neatly at the office door. So today, the first ever episode of The Architecture of Work. And we are starting with something almost everyone has lived through and almost no company gets right. Onboarding. I want to tell you about two people. I'll call them Mia and Leo. Different companies, different industries, same week. Their first week of a new job. Mia gets an email 3 days before she starts. It has her laptop shipping details, a login for the HR portal, and a 17-page PDF called Welcome Aboard. On day one, she logs into a video call. Nobody's camera is on except the recruiters, who says, "Great to have you," and then hands her off to a system that walks her through the compliance training. By lunch, she has watched 4 videos about data protection and has not spoken to a single human being who works there. By day 3, she still hasn't met her manager one-on-one. She has met him twice, both times in a group stand-up where he said her name and just moved on. She starts wondering if she made the wrong call taking this job. Not because the work is bad. She hasn't seen enough of the work to know. She is wondering because nobody has made her feel like her arrival mattered. Now Leo, different company, smaller team, on his first morning, his manager is waiting for him, not in the meeting room, at the door. They get a coffee together before anything official starts. His manager says one sentence that Leo still remembers months later. He says, "I'm not going to pretend I have this all figured out. Ask me anything, including the dumb questions, especially the dumb questions." Leo's laptop takes 2 extra days to arrive because of a shipping delay. Nobody panics. His manager just says, "Use mine for now. Let's not lose this week." By Friday, Leo has had one real project handed to him, one honest conversation about what the team struggles with, and one moment where a colleague said, "We are glad to have you here," and actually mean it. Guess who's still at the company 2 years later? And guess who left the other one in just 4 months? Telling everyone the culture wasn't a fit, when the truth was simpler. Nobody ever gave the culture a chance to show up. I want to pause the story and tell you something from my own life, because this isn't just something I've observed from outside. I've lived both sides of this. Years ago, in one of my earlier jobs, it was my first day. Small team, maybe 3 or 4 people plus my manager. No big company machinery, no elaborate welcome program, and on the first day, my manager took me out to lunch, just the core team. Nothing fancy, no agenda, no slide deck about culture, just a table, some food, and people who made space for me to be new. That's it. That's the whole story. Here's what I want you to notice. That was 15 years ago. 15 years. Multiple jobs, more onboarding decks and welcome emails than I can count. And I still remember that lunch. I couldn't tell you what was in the 17-page welcome document from most of the companies I have worked at. I can tell you exactly where we sat. That's the part that should stop you. Not one training module from that job stayed with me the way that one lunch did. Nobody measured that lunch on an onboarding checklist. There was no line item for it. It probably cost the company less than the coffee machine in the break room. And it outlasted every process they had. That's what a relational gesture does that a logistical one never can. It doesn't just inform you, it tells you something about your place before you have even earned one. And that message doesn't fade the way information does. Information gets forgotten. Feeling remembered gets carried for 15 years. Here's the irony, and it's a sharp one. Every company will tell you retention starts with culture. Culture decks, culture surveys, culture offsites. But the moment where culture is most visible, most felt, most decisive is the first 2 weeks. And that's exactly the moment most companies hand over to a checklist. Think about what actually happens in most onboarding processes. IT setup, policy documents, an org chart nobody explains, a calendar full of meetings labeled intro to X, where X barely remembers who's joining. It's logistics wearing the costume of welcome. And here's the part that should genuinely bother you if you run a team. The employee is doing exactly what you do on a first date. They are scanning for signal. Does anyone here seem glad I showed up? Is there room for me to be new at this without being punished for it? If I make a mistake this week, will it be treated as normal or as a red flag? Nobody says any of this out loud, but the nervous system doesn't need permission to keep score. And here's the twist that makes this an irony worth sitting with. Companies spend enormous energy trying to attract the right candidate. Job ads, interview panels, employer branding, all of that effort, and then the actual relationship begins with a PDF. Imagine going on a 3 date with someone feeling something real, and then on the 4th date, they hand you a folder of expectations and disappear into a Zoom call. You would know instantly this isn't a relationship. It's a transaction dressed as one. That's what bad onboarding tells a new hire, whether the company means it or not. I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds soft. Vibes don't run a business. Fair. So let's talk about what vibes actually cost. Employees who feel disconnected in their first week disengage early. and disengagement compounds. It's harder to course correct someone who is already quietly decided you don't see them than someone who's still deciding what to think of you. The first 30 days aren't a warm up, they are the negotiation for how much discretionary effort this person will ever give you. And replacing someone isn't just a recruiter's fee, it's the ramp time lost, the institutional context that walks out of the door, and the manager hours spent hiring again, and the quiet tax on the rest of the team, who now wonders if they're next to lose faith. This isn't about a soft topic hiding inside a business conversation. It's a business topic that everyone keeps mistaking for a soft one. Here's what I want to get practical, because I don't believe in naming a problem and walking away from it. If onboarding is a first date, then the goal isn't to remove the paperwork. Paperwork exists for a reason. The goal is to stop letting paperwork be the whole story. 3 shifts. All of them fixable within a single quarter. No budget required. First, separate the human onboarding from the operational onboarding and make sure the human one has an owner. Right now, most companies have someone in charge of IT setup and someone in charge of compliance. Almost nobody has someone whose job is to make sure the new hire feels met. That job should belong explicitly to the manager, not HR, not a buddy system nobody follows up on. The manager's first meeting with the new hire should have 0 agenda items about work. One conversation in the first 48 hours that's just about who the person is and what they need to feel steady. Second, replace the any questions moment with an actual invitation. Nobody asks a real question when you say any questions at the end of a session with 6 other people listening. That's asking someone to admit uncertainty in public during the exact week they're trying to prove they belong. Instead, build in a private low-stakes moment in the first week, ideally informal, where a manager says something closer to what Leo's manager said. Name the fact that not knowing is expected. That single sentence does more to build psychological safety than any culture deck. Third, give a small, real task in the first week, not a simulation of work. Watching training videos doesn't tell anyone they matter. Being handed something real, even something small, does. It says we trust you enough to let you touch something that counts. Delay this and you delay the moment someone starts feeling useful, which is the same moment they start feeling like they belong. None of these 3 things require a budget. They require a manager who understands that the first 2 weeks are not a formality. They are the whole relationship compressed. What I keep coming back to in coaching rooms and in boardrooms both, we treat the beginning of things as less important than the middle, and we think the real relationship starts once the formalities are all out of the way. But nothing could be further from the truth. The beginning is where the nervous system decides how much of itself is willing to bring forward. Everything after that is just relationship living out the terms it silently agreed to in week 1. Companies that get this right aren't doing anything mystical. They are doing what any decent person does on a first date. They show up, they pay attention, they make room for someone to be new without punishing them for it. That's not a soft skill, that's the entire skill. So, here's what I want you to sit with this week. Whether you are leading a team of 2 or 200, If someone joined your company tomorrow, would their first 2 weeks feel like a relationship beginning or like paperwork being processed? And if you are the one who just started somewhere new and it felt like the second one, that wasn't a reflection of you. That was information about them, not about your worth. And if you're lucky enough to have had your own version of that lunch, hold on to it. Not as a nice memory, as a proof that the smallest gesture done with intention outlives every process a company will ever build. This has been the first episode of The Architecture of Work, a new part of relationship ironies of the world we live in. Next time in this segment, we're going to talk about the manager who can never say I was wrong, and what that one missing sentence quietly costs an entire team. Until then, this is Swati Mukherjee, reminding you that every relationship, romantic or professional, is built in these moments nobody thought to script. I'll see you next time.